Hey friends, it's Mari. Welcome back to my channel. I have another project today as part of the Vicki design team. I'm going to be using these two 3x3 black and white photographs today for my layout. And I'm starting off with some of the Vicki Foundations paper. It's a really nice heavy white cardstock. I'm going to be using this really gorgeous mosaic patterned paper from Storyteller. Just love this paper. I think it's super gorgeous, and I wanted to use a little bit of both sides of this paper on my layout today. You can see the back side is just another beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous color and pattern. I'm going to scribble out some of my art crayons on a piece of plastic packaging just on the right side of my table. I'm going to create a blend of different pink crayons here, a darker one, a little bit brighter one, and then I'm also going to blend in some white with that, and in that way creating a kind of like a lighter pink. And I'm going to go in and create some strips on my paper with the different art crayon colors in kind of a rainbow effect here. So you'll just see me going ahead mixing up each one of the different colors, that color combinations that I'm going to use. I'll water them down there as you saw me doing and swipe them with a flat, it's about a 1-inch flat brush, and then go ahead and do some splattering as well with that. So you can just see here, I'm going to go ahead and get this all mixed up. I'm going to swipe out with that yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and splatter that as well. And you don't really have to switch to a different brush. I know some people will say, well, you really need to use a round brush to splatter with, but to be honest, to go and mess up another brush for this purpose, you really don't have to. You can actually splatter with a flat brush too. You might not have quite as much control, or it might not be the exact type of droplet as a round brush, but you can actually splatter with a flat brush. You can watch me do it here. It works. So I'm just going to go ahead now and mix up kind of like a variety of greens. So we've got our pink, we have our yellow, now going in with a green, and then I am going to finish off with the blue and create that rainbow pattern here as I'm going. Now, I actually originally thought I was going to use these this pattern of colors here in this strip, as you can see it here, but I end up turning my paper so that the strips are horizontal rather than vertical. And I was just showing you there the colors that are in the mosaic pattern paper. I'm trying to stay in that basic color palette, but I mean, to be honest with you, there's so many different colors in that paper that you can easily create a rainbow kind of pattern to go along with it, and it's going to be perfect. So here you can just see I've grabbed out my iridescent glaze, and I'm going to just put some of this glaze down again on a piece of packaging to the right of my project here. I'm going to pick that up with a stencil brush. This is a large Vicki stencil brush, and this is one of the stencils from Storyteller. And I'm going to just put some of this iridescent color onto my project with this stencil. And here you can just see that it's really subtle. It's really, I just love it. I think it's super pretty, and it just picks up the light when you look at it in a certain way, but it's just not too kind of like bright and in your face, so to speak. Like, it's just really nice and subtle. Now I'm going to take that mosaic paper, I'm going to grab my trimmer here and cut a strip that's going to go through that rainbow colored line. I'm actually going to, like I said, turn my paper so that it's going to run the opposite way. But before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and tear out each side of this mosaic paper just to give it a little bit more texture and interest in that way. Not that this paper is not interesting on its own. It is gorgeous and it has such an interesting pattern, but I just wanted to create a little bit more of a distress look with it. Now I am going to, here in this next frame, quickly switch this over to the other orientation, but I am going to first of all trim this up so that it's not quite as long. I don't want it to go from edge to edge on my layout. I want there to be a little bit of white space at the top and the bottom. And you'll see that here in a minute. And I am going to also roll the edges of that distressed edge of paper here. I'm going to roll it up so that you can see that burgundy underneath, which I think just looks really interesting and cool. And then we will be moving on to the next step here. So here I'm taking the sequence paper, which is just a really pretty rainbow stripe pattern paper, and I'm just going to cut a strip from it so that I've got all of those different rainbow colors revealed there. And I'm going to go ahead and put that on the left side of my strip of mosaic paper here, which has that torn edge. So the distressed edge is going to be up against that straight edge. And I just like how that looks. Now I'm going to take my new Tim Holtz decal edge trimmer, and I'm going to use that trimmer to go ahead and trim my photo mats here. So you can see that really cool edge that decal edge trimmer leaves on the paper. I think it's just really cool. It almost gives it kind of like a vintage look. And I've added that to the edge of both of my photo mats that I created there for my photos. The paper that I used for those photo mats is some Cartabella iridescent cardstock. I will leave that linked up down below, as well as that decal edge trimmer if you would like to take a look at purchasing either of those different items. I am going to use a couple of strips of paper on the left edge of my layout here. So that's the manufacturer strip of that mosaic paper, a piece of the burgundy paper, and then over on the right side, a really thin strip of that rainbow sequence paper again. And so that just kind of encloses or kind of like frames in the layout a little bit. And here you can see I'm just going to layer these two strips of paper together in the center. And I've also created a mat out of the paper it's the mosaic paper, but it's the B side. So my photo mat has a little piece of that burgundy in the photo mat as well, just to add a little bit of a darker frame around my photos. And I really like how that looks. So I'm going to pop my photo up on some craft craft foam, and then I'm going to go ahead and stick those layers together, and you can see that just creates a little bit of dimension in my photo mat in that way, with that little bit of craft foam backing my photographs. So I'm just going to get that stuck down, and I will just use a little bit of the really sticky tape runner there that will keep that craft foam stuck to my paper. So I'm just going to make sure that's all lined up, and I'm going to start to think about what else I want to do with this layout. Now, I took the medley pattern paper, which is that really beautiful paper from Storyteller that has the large leaves on it, and I fussy cut out a bunch of those leaves to use as embellishments, because these are fall photos that I'm scrapping here today. Just some photos that my daughter and her husband had taken recently, and it was just a really beautiful kind of a fall setting, although it's difficult to see that necessarily when you're looking at these photos in black and white. You can tell by looking at what they're wearing and just kind of like the texture of the grasses and stuff. It's definitely a fall scene, and so that is what I'm doing there with those leaves. So I'm trying to line up the colors. I've got the oranges and yellows up at the top of the rainbow, and then the blue and green leaves down at the bottom of the rainbow there. And I'm going to just pop up some of those leaves on a little bit of foam adhesive. Otherwise, I'm just going to glue those down with a little bit of liquid adhesive to the foundations paper and that mixed media. So now you can just see this is some really simple embellishing here. I'm not going to go too crazy with embellishments on this layout. I just like how it's looking with the simple bit of embellishing with those leaves, and then this little bird die cut that I'm going to put up nearest to that top cluster of leaves, and then I'll put another little chipboard bird down at the bottom, but you'll see that here in a minute. I am going to pop that little bird up on a little bit of foam adhesive, and I just like how it looks. I think it's super cute. I love the colors that are in that little bird die cut, and I think it's just sweet. These are kind of like nature photos, and I thought that bird was just perfect, and these two are definitely lovebirds, so I like the idea of having a bird here. I'm using a smaller bird that's the chipboard down at the bottom there, just because like the larger bird seemed a little bit large for that area, so I just wanted a smaller scale for this one. So that's going to be about it. You'll see that I've added a sticker here in a second for my title, and I just love how this worked out. I've got a little bit of sewing on each side, and that's it. There's tons of room for journaling still, and that's the layout for this week. Make sure you check the description box below for a link to the Vicki Boutin blog, and also links to all of the products that I've used today. Those are affiliate links, so if you'd like to do some shopping, you can definitely use those links to do so. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have an amazing day, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.